back to the channel. I'm your host, Osa. Today, we're going to react to a video called Self-Fullfilment is a Lie by Captain Sinbad. I think it's a pretty dope video. A lot of interesting insight and views in this video. So, without further ado, let's get right to it.
I don't know, it's like you tell yourself, I need to get the A7S III, you know, like this is the last camera body that I'll ever need, and no matter what else happens, even if I don't get better ideas as views, at least I'll have that A7S III camera body, you know?
Could be worse, you know? A woman could cut your penis off and throw it out the window of a moving car. Or your parents could force you into an arranged marriage.
That's actually genuinely horrifying. I discovered Fight Club as a sophomore in high school at a time in which I was suffering from insomnia and acne. I felt very ugly at that time, and oftentimes I would see my friends tell me, "Hey man, you look really tired, is everything okay?" And that would make me feel so self-conscious. Then when I watched the movie, I was actually kind of repulsed immediately. As someone who was always into self-improvement-y things and liked having this mental conception that, hey man, one day I'm gonna be like really on top of my stuff. I'm gonna be totally put together and I'm always gonna feel on purpose. Hearing that line, that self-improvement is masturbation, it made me feel grossed out. I didn't like that idea. But I couldn't stop thinking about the movie, and then I watched it a second time. And that whole philosophy, especially that devil may care, I don't give a fuck mentality, it sort of became attractive to me. And just like the main character, after watching that movie and after a few months of not being able to sleep well, I just stopped caring. I decided, screw it. And so I would walk through the hallways at school with bags under my eyes, with dark circles and with acne. And then suddenly when the other students would say, "Hey man, you look really tired, is everything okay?" I would say to them, "Yeah man, everything's great. I feel great. This is just what I look like."
That's that's funny. Yeah, I think at some point, you know, just giving give it a rat's ass about what people think about you, or why, you know, or what people questions that people ask you about, like just not caring anymore. Kind of get to that point where it's just like, yeah, no, you know, like that's not, you know, why would I even entertain you with a sugar-coated answer? Like, no, it is what it is, right? So, but I think here he might, you know, continue into the video where he's kind of showing him where he kind of fell into. I think here he might explain this video where he got to the point where he turned to self-improvement and how that, you know, either helped or hurt him, either or, you know. But let's continue.
I just stopped worrying about the fact that I couldn't sleep, and I sort of told myself, screw it, I'm ugly right now. It's cool. Suddenly that gave me a sense of freedom, and shortly after I actually was able to sleep better because I didn't have so much anxiety about waking up looking tired and what the other kids might say about me. And that sentiment is sort of a perfect metaphor for the things I've pursued in my life, and noticing that when I wanted something too bad, when I really was efforting after something or really had a lot of anxiety about getting it, it would totally mess up the routine, it would mess up my ambition towards it. And when I still cared, but sort of let go of the result, when I just said, screw it, you know, I'm doing what I can, things just got a little more liquid. They got easier to maneuver. And this is an idea that has showed up multiple times in my life in various facets. When I liked a girl too much in the past. If I liked her too much, if I became obsessed with her, if I was kind of thinking like, how can I walk to get her to be attracted to me, which is the thought that every guy has sort of gone through at some point, then invariably that girl would not be interested in me. If I wanted to get a job and I wanted it too badly, then no matter how much I prepped the demo, no matter how much I rehearsed the questions, I think the interviewer could sort of see that desperation and they would not want to hire me for some reason. And especially in the world of acting, my desire to book a job, to give the casting director what he or she wanted, really interfered with my ability to give a performance. Instead of thinking, how do I want to create this character? How do I want to make a choice that I think would be cool? I would just think, what do they want? What do they want? How can I give them what they want?
That's a good point too. I think what it also comes down to is just authenticity. I think people are looking for someone who's authentic, who's just being who they are, because you can only be you. Like, you can't copy anybody, because if you try copying somebody, it's never going to work. And he's kind of showing that here in certain facets of his life with dating and his jobs and job acting. Where he was trying to be somebody that he wasn't, it never really worked out, or he just to the point shot himself in the foot that he ejected himself out of a situation. So I think that's also a very, very great point that he asks. It's like, instead of what do they want from you, how about do what you can and live with whatever consequences that come afterwards, right? So that's really, I think that's a good, very, very good point that he made there. Let's continue a little bit.
As a result of that, my performances would be so cliche, so boring, so uninspired. I'm not saying that it isn't cool to care about things. I care about things and I want things very deeply. But it cannot be denied that there is a certain flair that arrives in a person when he or she does things, take actions, makes efforts, but also sort of doesn't care. An old YouTuber that I used to watch said this about Gary Vaynerchuk. He gives the most fucks and also somehow the least fucks in the room. And that's the sort of mentality that I aspire for now. I want to get more footage than any other YouTuber. I want to script more aggressively. But on some level, I also want to hit upload and not give a fuck and not care what the views look like, what anything looks like. I just want to make, I just want to do, I want to create for myself. And of course it's healthy, natural, good to care about the results, but not to the demise of one's own work. Periodically, I've come back to that film Fight Club. And this isn't to say that I think the philosophy of Tyler Durden is like this all perfect philosophy. The guy was essentially a cult leader and had numerous conflicting ideologies. But if I ever find myself caring too much about the results of things and not really investing myself in the process, in the work, then I like to watch clips from that movie so that I can sort of seep into that character of not caring so much. In this video, I'm gonna go over 3 quotes from the movie Fight Club and how I sort of think about them today.
Before we go into it, has anyone seen Fight Club? If anyone's seen Fight Club before, kind of put it down in the comment section how you guys feel about the movie. Is it something worth watching per se? I mean, obviously here in the video from Sinbad, he's like, yeah, totally watch it, but that's not want to get your guys' opinion on it. Is it something that I should watch or not? All right, let's continue.
This one is this. You are not special, you're not a beautiful or unique snowflake, you are the same decaying organic matter as everything else. I think part of the most maturing aspects of adulthood for me has been realizing that I'm not as special as I thought I was when I was a kid. As a kid, I just had this inherent assumption that the things I would do with my life would be incredible. But as I moved into my early 20s, I began to have this sinking feeling that I should probably work my ass off, that I might not be as special as I initially thought I was. This came to an all-time high in 2017 when I went to an acting workshop in Mumbai with a guy named Atul Mongia. In the world of acting in Hindi cinema, he's actually kind of a legend. He's trained up actors like Ranveer Singh and Vicky Kaushal. And in that workshop, I noticed that a decent portion of the actors there were more dedicated, more talented, better trained, more fit, more attractive than me. And when I initially saw their performance against mine, I couldn't think of a good reason why anyone would want to hire me over them. That newfound perspective helped me scale back my goals. It helped me deal with that sort of idea that I've been harboring deep down, that I was at war with the world. That the reason I didn't get a lot of those things I initially wanted wasn't because of a lack of talent or a lack of dedication from me, but rather just because the world was unfair. I mean, the world may still be unfair, but I realized that there was so much I could do to work on myself, and I didn't need to harbor any hate for the external world for why I didn't get what I wanted.
That's also interesting too. I kind of felt the same way too when I was younger. You know, I think one of my counselors back in high school, you know, kind of mentioned it to me that, you know, the world's not against you, because I would get, you know, maybe slightly upset about a certain outcome that didn't really go my way. You know, maybe I might have felt slighted in some sense, or I might have felt like, you know, I was getting the short end of the stick or some combination of sorts. But later on, but you know, that obviously that wasn't the case. You know, that sometimes, you know, hey, the world's just not against you. It's just not, you know, maybe you know, there are people that were just more qualified, and that's okay, you know, and that's just okay by that. So what's important about that statement is how you react to it, you know, how you react into adversity, how do you react to being told no, because your response to that question is what's going to determine whether you're moving forward, or are you going to stay where you are and have other people pass by you. So I think that's really that's a key important aspect to really think about, because I completely understand what he's talking about, completely.
I could go back and work on my portfolio even more. Take more acting classes, work on different accents, even put together my own demo reels. This quote reminds me that I'm actually not a special snowflake. Even when a YouTube video of mine succeeds and people tell me, oh dude, you're so talented, you're so funny, I can sort of scale back and think to myself, you know what, I'm actually not that talented, I'm not that good right now, and there's still so much that I could work on in myself. Quote number 2, it's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. I had this strange experience right as I was about to start teaching, where I suddenly lost hearing in my right ear. And at first I was in denial of it, but I was sort of walking around and I would cover up my left ear and realized that everything became really muffled after I covered it up. And I would do this periodically throughout the day in like meetings, quietly, covering up my ear, realizing I couldn't hear. And I thought to myself, I don't know how this is happening, but maybe I'm just losing hearing in one of my ears. And I went through all the stages of grief. At first I thought to myself, wow, this is actually pretty awful. I guess I just have to live with the fact that I can't hear anymore. And then of course, when I went in for a checkup, the aide there just flushed both of my ears with this pumping system. And this is kind of gross, but I had a lot of earwax fall out of both my ears. And then all of a sudden it felt like I could hear supersonic. And I felt such an immense gratitude. I met my buddy at a record store right afterwards, and I was so happy. I was grinning ear to ear. And he asked me, why are you so happy? And I was like, I can hear really well. It was sort of a forced stoic exercise that I was pushed into. Now I try to connect this quote with so many things when I'm feeling aspirational for something and I wanna bring this thing to life so badly. I tell myself, you know what? It's only after I've lost everything, I have lost everything, that I'm free to do anything. So all this stuff that I'm chasing, all these things that I'm trying to make happen, let's just assume none of it's gonna happen. Just as a mental exercise. Like, it's not gonna come to life. Everything you wanna go after, all your dreams, bro, it's just not gonna happen. You would think this would make me feel depressed, but it doesn't. It just makes me feel free. It makes me think, okay, I guess that's the new baseline. None of these things are gonna happen. Would I do this anyway? Would I still go out and shoot in the field today? Would I make this next video? Would I script this thing out? I think I probably would.
All right, so I think this point that he's making is kind of the philosophy that's really stated from time to time, where a person sometimes has to hit rock bottom in order to truly have some sort of internal change or substantial change, right? So for me personally, I think not necessarily. That's also, again, that's an individual by individual basis. For him, it seems that he has to kind of think almost the worst case scenario, kind of be okay with it, which is fine. I think that's thinking in that sense is is helpful for some, because it kind of let the pressure of having to compete or having to have something done and ready to go, or the art or the concept of perfection, basically, right? So having that type of stress on you kind of alleviates that, so that you can freely do what you need to do and bring out the best product that you could possibly bring out. Personally, for me, I don't necessarily do that per se, not because I'm not knocking people that do that, but for me, I think it's best to kind of have that sort of trust in yourself that you will get the job done, that you will personally get the job done and do it right and do it to your best of your abilities, where you're bringing out a product that's substantial. Really, at least substantial. At the very least substantial. Now, whether or not it's a good product, that's determined by who's the consumer or who is judging that, But excuse me. At least you can say to yourself that, hey, I gave it my all, I gave it my best, I'm content with whatever whatever product that came out, and whatever happens. So, in a sense, there's some elements to what he said that I kind of use in my philosophy, but overall, I don't necessarily go straight into utter doom and peril that everything will just be fucked per se. So no, I don't do that per se. But all right, let's continue.
I love to tell stories. I like to make videos. I love acting. The email that I'm gonna send to this agent is gonna go into his spam folder. He's never even gonna see it. And so when I send that email anyway, when I make the video anyway, there's this sort of nonchalance that kicks in. I guess I've already accepted the fact that this isn't gonna work out, so what could you possibly take away from me? I'm just gonna do it anyway. Third quote is this: you buy furniture. You tell yourself, this is the last sofa I will ever need in my life. No matter what happens, I got that sofa thing covered. A favorite new YouTuber of mine is Pony Smasher. That's the alias of David Sandberg, who directed Lights Out, Annabelle Creation, and most recently Shazam. As he himself tells his story, he was just this broke guy living in Sweden, making these low-budget short films with his wife, mostly horror shorts, and he didn't didn't know how he would ever get to Hollywood, and after several years making videos, one of his shorts, Lights Out, got like 16 million views. It went super viral, and the studios noticed this. They flew him out to LA, gave him a budget, and he turned Lights Out into a feature film that became a really big success. This went to kick off his mainstream directing career, and now his 3 movies have accumulated something like $800 million at the box office. When I hear this play out, when I listen to him explain this story, this incredibly inspirational story in like an interview, I mentally thought to myself, you know, if that ever happened to me, if we ever got to work on these big projects, I'd probably just wake up every day super happy. First thing in the morning, I'd be happy, and I would just walk around all day thinking to myself, oh damn, I'm like living my dream, I'm a big director. But of course, this would not be the case. In one of his videos, David Sandberg, Pony Smasher, talks about how when a movie wraps, you still have to deal with yourself. If you're a self-hating, self-loathing son of a bitch, that's what you're gonna stay. And the fact that you got to make a big movie or pursue your dream, whatever it might be, that's not gonna change that. You still have to live with yourself and live with your own mind. So you just have to let go. Why care so much? Don't try to take the journey too seriously. Don't try to elevate its significance too much. Just let go. Life will go on.
Right, so I think for this point here too, as well, there's also a concept about basically if you want to change or just necessarily putting a covering or putting a false facade where you know, not necessarily attacking the problem, but you're using some sort of cover to, you know, cover it up and pretend that you're all good, but really you're not, right? And a lot of people are going through that. A lot of people are, you know, using some sort of mental block or a mental cover to cover up what's really true traumas that they really have to go through and really like sit down and face to make the actual change that they need to make or whatever change that they desire to make. So, you know, in a culture where, you know, it's PC to say certain stuff, that's rapid. PC culture where it's wrong to say certain stuff because it might sound tough to hear, or it might sound some sort of way to the person, you know, hurt their feelings and whatnot. That's why That's why, you know, we are in a position where people are checking into mental hospitals, therapists, you know, whatever you name it, about their issues and their problems, because instead of looking for the actual solution to it, someone to come tell them that whatever they're doing the right thing, instead of sitting down and actually taking the criticism and take it seriously and stuff like that. Instead of taking this criticism and take it seriously to the point where they can look to change what they need to change. So I don't know what's the statistics about people going into therapy, but obviously there's factors into this, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably drop it after the first session, because a lot of people, the therapist is telling them stuff that they've been running away from for years on end, and they're still kind of not ready to hear that because of what they're doing now is what's affecting their life. Because of what you're doing now, what happened it's because of what you're doing now and what happened in your past, it's what's affecting your life right now. So a lot of people probably drop out probably after the first session, but that statistic is probably going to be skewed because that could be financial reasons, that can be a whole slew of other things that we do not know from an individual to individual basis. So I can't really, you know, be so leaning towards that certain or a certain graph like that because of the situations and other factors that might lead to somebody dropping out of a therapy session after the first session, right? So there's a little bit left of the video. I won't play the whole thing. Shout out to Captain Sinbad. That was a dope ass video. I think he actually makes dope ass stuff here on his channel. I might even bring a couple other stuff depending on whatever I see of interest that kind of fits the narrative of the channel a little bit. Overall, I think just let go of caring, or let go of society's I won't say rules per se, because there are certain rules that are good, that are legit good. I won't go into it though, but just let go of society's expectations. All right, I'll say that. because at the end of the day, expectations were meant for a certain mold of person, I'll use mold. Expectations at the end of the day was expected for a certain mold of person, or a mold that would fit a certain place in society, and that's not everybody. Absolutely not everybody. So whoever that is that you decide to be, or who you think you are, explore, right? Explore that. Whatever the consequences for you doing that, fuck all that, right? You go ahead and make that decision yourself that, hey, I feel like I'm not doing this or that, I'm lacking in certain areas. You go on and do that, all right? You have to be able to let go of the outcome, right? And whatever outcome that comes out, either it's a bad consequence or maybe a positive, whatever that outcome is, regardless of that, regardless, you did what you had to do because that's what you wanted to do, and that's what you needed to do in order to find out who you are and where do you fit into society, all right? Well, that's your video today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Also share this video in social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, whatnot. Don't forget to hit the bell next to the subscribe button so that you notify whenever I drop a new video out or whatnot. Hopefully we can get some more videos out soon, besides once a week. But until then, take it, guys, all right? And I'll catch you later.
Look, moving that work over state lines. Wifey don't starve, she stay fly. When I run the city, hit the baseline. Get it how I live it, don't worry how I make mine. Still hungry and I just ate my dinner. Tax and the law, always stay in my business. Get dough with the books, pass it on to my dog with the